So a thank you to this amazing Unity Band, to Don, Dave, Richard, Joel, and Pete. And today we have with us in song, Rhoda Weaver. So welcome to the light and love of this beautiful spiritual community. Every Sunday we begin our time together just anchoring in this awareness of our oneness. Would you join me? There's only one presence and power active in the universe and in my life, God, the good, omnipotence. And then our mission. We are an inclusive, inspiring spiritual community, embracing our divinity and joyfully evolving together. With that, we open in prayer. We give thanks for this beautiful day, for the opportunity to come together in spirit and in truth. We realize that it is in the greater life in God that we live and move and have our being. And it is in and through and as us that the greater life, all that is, comes to life, is animated, presses itself out in every form of creation. We celebrate the creation and just the unique celebration of life today. We do that in the spirit of this week of what is our spiritual freedom and how are we called into that more deeply, more joyfully. So we dedicate this time to being blessed, that we may be a blessing, to being lifted in spirit and in truth. And for this most sacred opportunity, we are most grateful. Thank you, God. And so it is. Amen. I invite you to stand as you're able and join in our opening song in the spirit of the week that says, "This land is your land." This land is your land, this land is my land, from California to the New York Island, from the Gulf Stream water to the Red River water. This land was made for you and me. As I was walking that ribbon of highway, I saw below me that in the skyway, I saw below me that golden valley. This land was made for you and me. When the sun comes shining and I was strolling and the wheat fields waving and the dust clouds rolling, as the fog was lifting, a voice was chanting, "This land was made for you and me. This land is your land, this land is my land, from California to the New York Island, from the redwood forest to the Gulf Stream water. This land was made for you and me." Last line. Yes, this land was made for you and me. Yeah, this land was made for you and me. I invite you to turn in that spirit of sacred community and with a sacred handshake or a holy hug to welcome those around you. We are the world, yes, and so it is. You sound beautiful. Thank you. You may be seated. We'd like to take a moment to acknowledge anyone that may be here for the first time. If this is your first time or your first time in a long time, just raise your hands and our welcoming team will acknowledge you. Welcome. We'd like to extend a connections card to you. You can pick up a packet of information after the service, but we just want you to know that we truly welcome you. Hope that you are blessed because we are blessed by your presence. To each and every one of you today who are especially newcomers, we extend this blessing that says, we love you. We bless you, we appreciate you, and we behold the divinity in you. Thank you so much. I'm going to invite you to turn your cell phone off if you've not already done so. And Reverend Christy Corna, our Associate Minister of the Church Office Administration and Events, is going to share some information with us. Would you please welcome Reverend Christy?
Good morning, everyone. First, I would like to share with you, did you mention the cell phones? Okay, then next. Our next step, we have one more informational meeting that will be taking place this Thursday evening from 6:30 to 8:30. It's a wonderful opportunity to come together, learn a little bit about the history of Unity of the Blue Ridge and the current state of events and part of the master plan things that were shared in our town hall meeting. If you missed that or would like clarity on that, opportunity for questions and answers, and everyone is invited to attend that. That's this Thursday, July 5th, 6:30 to 8:30. And then there is a two-part series being offered called Leaning into Life. Reverend Laura Collins over here and Betty Albert are facilitating this group. It's Sunday the 8th and the 22nd, following our first service, following our church services. It's an opportunity to come together and in a confidential setting to be supported and apply spiritual principles to things such as mental challenges, depression, the shadow stuff that we don't like to really put out there. So if you have questions about that, please see Reverend Laura following today's service. There's sign-up sheets out there. Again, she'll be available for conversation. And then we have a benefit concert coming up on Friday, July 13th, and it's with local pianist Alex Watson, and he's a phenomenal pianist, a wonderful guy. And this is a benefit concert to support CorePoint, which is a local nonprofit organization that supports veterans in training and services and counseling and all kinds of areas. And specifically, that is our focus for the month of July. And their specific needs at CorePoint are monetary donations, volunteer time, and if you know a veteran that could use some support, send them their way. And there's information out in the foyer for that. And so proceeds for this concert go to support that, support Unity of the Blue Ridge. And it's Sacred Reflections is the name of the concert. And it's a combination of jazz and sacred music and classical. So please come out and enjoy that wonderful evening. And with that, we are aware. And I would like to... Pardon?
He's a great pianist.
He's a great pianist. And also it's a suggested donation of $10, but it's a love offering concert, so as a benefit concert. Now I'd like to introduce Reverend Laura Collins.
I'm trying to make a last minute decision whether or not to change the reading, but I think I'll do the one that we did in the first service. Today's reading comes from Marianne Williamson's book, Illuminata, A Return to Prayer, which is a book I highly recommend if you want a guide to deeper prayer in your own life. And in addition to a number of prayers that she has in the book for different circumstances, she also talks about the power of prayer. And this is from her chapter on mystical power. Marianne writes, all life unfolds in phases of 3. First, there is the realm of spirit or pure possibility. Then the arc of life moves from point to counterpoint, higher to lower, love to fear, creativity to stagnation. Those 2 phases, however, are not the end of God's mystical blueprint. All powerlessness stems from failure to understand this point. The key to empowerment, personal and collective, is the understanding that although darkness stalks the light will always reassert itself. No matter what is happening, the universe is invested in healing. Night is followed by morning, crucifixion is followed by resurrection. God always has the final say. The mystical journey is a realm of devotional awareness by which we examine the meaning behind our experiences and thus gain the spiritual power to endure. It's a space of greater knowing as we transit from realms of hope through worldly despair and ultimately on to illumination. The mystical life is a life lived with an understanding of its place within the epic drama of God's unfoldment. It seeks knowledge of where every situation fits in the resurrective intention of the universe. Without this understanding, we're blind and remain stuck in a pattern of endless repetition or sleep. Even if this is our choice, God's choice, which ultimately supersedes our own, is that we shall finally awaken. We shall be awakened by a higher emanation of mind, which is always some form of love. Our only choice is whether to awaken now or later.
It's always a treat when we have you with us. Rhoda and our amazing Unity Band, would you show them your appreciation? Yes. So as you know, this week on Wednesday will be July 4th, and you can see that we're getting already in the spirit. I live not too far from here, and in my neighborhood, there's someone, they must buy giant fireworks all year, because for the 4th of July, and you never know what day they're going to do it, it's rarely on the 4th, they have a display that is larger than some small towns. I'm talking giant, giant fireworks. And last night was the night they chose. And so they lit up the skies, and it was just really, it just puts you in the spirit of celebration. How can you not see just the skies lit up without celebrating? And this week we will, and you know, we have so much to be thankful for in this country. We have so many privileges and opportunities, and there is so much to be thankful for. Sometimes we get frustrated because we're also global citizens, and our being an American citizen is certainly not at the expense of a global citizen, but we celebrate both of those, and this week in particular we enter into that space, and that's what we want to talk about today through the context of spiritual freedom. And I'm going to talk to you sort of about a formula that I believe helps bring about that freedom. And it's anchored in the idea, well, hello, welcome, new married couple. Kat, you always know how to stop a service. They were just married last night, so I couldn't resist the chance to celebrate. They have many friends and family with them. So where were we before all that happened? We're talking about this spiritual independence, and what we want to talk about today is in order to form a more perfect union. That beautiful languaging and what that really means in different areas of our life. So to begin, I want to share a story with you about a little boy who had been playing outside, and he got his mom's bucket that she used in the kitchen. He took it outside, and he had been playing with it. And so now it's evening, it's dark, and mom's looking around for her bucket, and she can't find it. And she asked her son, you know, did you have my bucket? And he said, oh yeah, I was out playing by the barn. I must have left it. And she said, well, go get it and bring it in. I need it. And he said, but it's dark, Mama, I'm scared. And so she digs around and gives him a flashlight and says, here's a flashlight. Go and get the bucket, I need it. And he said, but I'm still scared, even with the flashlight. And she said, honey, God is out there. God is everywhere. God is out there. Go get my bucket. And so he takes the flashlight and he goes over to the door and he opens it and he says, God, if you're out there, would you bring my mom's bucket? She needs it. And slams the door and runs back in. I love the story because how often really do we say, God, if you're out there, could you fix the mess we created? God, if you're up there, could you do something about those crazy people? God, if you're out there, could you bring us the peace that we need? God, if you're out there, could you do this for us? And it sounds, you know, comical when we think the child thinks God's going to bring a bucket. But when we really look around, are there ways that we're still saying, good Lord, God help us, because we can't seem to figure this thing out? Well, we realize that God is out there, but God is in here. That we are the hands, the feet, that we are the place that God shows up. There's a powerful scripture that comes from Philippians 2:13 that says it beautifully. It says, God works in you to act in order to fulfill what is possible. That's very clear. God works in you. God works as you. God works through you to act in order to fulfill what is possible. That God, all that is, seeks to bring to life the possibilities, the potentiality of spirit through every form of creation. And we are one of those forms of creation that are here to bring to life the possibilities of God. It is we that are here to be the way of peace, to be the way of love, to be the way of freedom, to be these things that we can experience them. And so this week, as we celebrate freedom, I want us to really look at it and consider it through that context. This time of year, I think it's important as a country, as an individual, to go back 242 years ago and think about the founders of this nation. And, you can miss some important things here. These people were getting ready to create a Declaration of Independence. They were declaring something that did not yet exist. You see, they had no model. There was no model anywhere that was based on the ideas they had come up with. They were just in a bad relationship with Great Britain and wanted freedom. And so they were stepping out in faith. They had an idea, an affirmation, a declaration that they were claiming. But it's really important to understand it didn't exist anywhere yet. But the starting point of any idea is for us to begin to declare it and to begin to bring it to life. And so these individuals who signed their names on that declaration, they were risking everything. They were entering into uncharted territory. They knew that it was starting a war the minute that they did that, but they did it anyway. And so as they sat down to do this, they wrote, "When in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind required that they should declare the causes which impel them to separation." And so they listed all the reasons, all the causes for which they were declaring a greater idea, a freedom that they believed in that did not yet exist. And they went on to say, "We hold these truths to be self-evident." To be self-evident, yet they were nowhere evident for them to see. "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal and that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights." Say that word with me. Unalienable rights. That means something that you cannot take away. An unalienable right is something that cannot be denied you. We believe that all are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So they were claiming a freedom and basing it on our unalienable, undeniable rights, that all men were created equal. So they were grasping a hold of something, and that would launch then a war that would last over 8 years. Everything would change, and then a few years later in 87, the preamble to the Constitution was written when it said, "We the people of these United States, in order to form a more perfect union." I love that languaging, that in order to form a more perfect union, we established this. They were establishing something in order to form a more perfect union. And that's what we want to look at today, the power of forming a more perfect union. So 1776, something masterful, great, something that had never been set in place before, something that talked about equality, was signed and sealed and would begin to lead people into a way of freedom. But were all people free and created equal? No. And so what begins to happen when you lay hold of something, when you lay hold of a truth and of freedom, it will take you down a path to discover the areas in your life where you're not free, where freedom really doesn't exist. And so 90 years later, 90 years after that signing, the 13th Amendment would come along, which would abolish slavery or involuntary servitude. But it would take 90 years for that would happen. It would take even longer. It would take 150 years for the 19th Amendment to take place, which said that, you know what, women can vote too. Now this is 150 years later. And then it would take 239 years later, The year would be 2015, where we would once again amend it and say, we believe that marriage is a right to all people. Hence, we had 2 people married yesterday. So that we are moving in a direction, yeah. And so the question for every generation becomes, well, who's excluded now? Who's excluded now in the path of freedom, the way of liberty? Who's being left out of equality? Where do we really not have freedom? Because what I begin to think about, consider this question, is the work of freedom ever done? Yeah. I mean, it's a great question to ponder. Is the work of freedom ever done? I know that probably as long as we have skin suits, there's some freedom yet to be discovered. You know, these people, you think these are empty chairs, but these are transparent people who have done their freedom work, and they are joining us in spirit. But as long as we have skin suits on, we still have some work to do, perhaps. That is freedom ever complete? And so I think there are different levels of freedom, just grows us into it. And so in order to really experience this freedom of spirit, and to enter into a more perfect union, I want to share with you a formula that involves 3 things that I believe will lead us in this direction. And I can also tell you that this formula will help you if you lose a dog and need to find it. This formula will help you if you have challenges in your life and need to connect with that. Because it's a formula that involves 3 things. And the 3 things are prayer, friends and family, and concerned citizens. And so let's talk about how each of those, that we are all of these, and how each of these are avenues to enter into a greater experience of a more perfect union, and to create the freedom, these unalienable rights that we're all created. Ernest Holmes was a contemporary in the late 1800s, early 1900s of Charles and Myrtle Fillmore, the co-founders of Unity. All of these folks were studying New Thought and the Transcendentalists together. But Ernest Holmes wrote, he said, we are bound into a supreme unity. We are tied into an immutable law of irrevocable cause and effect. That is unity moving into action. Cause and effect is something that happens as a result of the use of unity. Consequently, we are one even while we are many. And since each of us is a part of the whole, if we seek to destroy each other, we will only ultimately hurt ourselves. If we seek to destroy each other, we will ultimately only hurt ourselves. That is the great lesson of life. I think the Trappist monk Thomas Merton said it very clearly when he said, the most important question to ask in the spiritual life is not, are you happy? But it is, are you free? Are you free? So how free do you feel in your life? And for most of us, there's certain areas that we certainly feel more free. Some people may feel very financially free, but yet when it comes to relationships, you're not free. For the next person, it may be vice versa. One person may be very comfortable living their truth, and the other person may be not comfortable at all. And so we're all growing into our own more perfect union into living that truth. So these 3 things, the first one that helps us create this more perfect union is prayer. Now, I think first and foremost, the most important thing to remember about prayer is according to the gospel of Nike, and it's very simple. Just do it. Just do it. I hear so often people, just feel like, well, I don't know if I'm praying the right way, or especially when you discover New Thought and you think, well, if I don't pray this way, how do I pray that way? My encouragement is just do it. Prayer is an authentic pouring out. It's expressing the soul. It's the innermost part of you reaching out to the mighty most. And whether you see that mighty most as an extension of you or as something beyond you, I don't worry about that. Just connect with that innermost to the mighty most. Because it is prayer that helps us come into a more perfect union within our own self. I know for myself, in the mornings, unless I've had some time to have prayer and get grounded, I probably should wear a sign that says, beware, she has not yet prayed. And I know some of us need signs that say, if I haven't prayed and I haven't had coffee, just don't come within 24, so many feet of me. That if we leave the house before we've prayed, if we leave and head out into the world before we have come into this inner sanctuary, this inner state of union, where there is wholeness and connection, then how do we possibly connect and be with another? Richard, would you give me the song? I want to share a few different songs with you in the spirit of celebrating this independence. And this first one is a beautiful song about prayer, that when we pray, the purpose of prayer is to go deeper. It's to connect with love. God is love. It's to make that connection where we're connected to our own wholeness. Many of you know this song. Would you join me? When I pray, I feel my heart go deeper, my heart go deeper into my God. When I pray, I feel my heart go deeper, my heart go deeper into my God. Right here, right here, right now, right where I am, I pray. Right here, right now, right where I am, I pray. So being willing to make it a priority, prayer, meditation, find a way that works for you, but for the purpose of creating that inner sanctuary, a place that you can continually step into and grow into a greater and a more deep, a more perfect union. A union within your own being of spirit and form. A union within your own self of who you are as an expression of all that is. A more perfect union with your own wholeness, with your own sense of reverence and sacredness. Then we can walk out and see that in other people. Now, the second one is then friends and family. In order to create a more perfect union, there is prayer, but then there are also friends and family. Now, I'm not at all suggesting that everybody's family loves you. Well, I should ask, does anybody have a family that loves you and accepts you 100% exactly as you are? If you do, you are really, really blessed. I think the Cajun folks have something on us over there. They said they just are loving everybody. If you can love and accept your family, that is a huge gift, a huge gift. And so it's not everybody's experience. Not everybody will be able to experience that. And so with our family, we pick people that are family. We pick our friends. But the goal of having friends and family is that we create those sacred connections. That everybody needs people in your life where you can just let your hair down, so to speak, be completely who you are and still be loved. And everybody needs to be able to return that gift to other people, to just love them for who they are. There's a show that I really love on television. It's called Long Lost Family. Has anybody ever seen that? It's hosted by two individuals who were both adopted. And both of these individuals, all of their lives, they felt like there was a hole in their hearts because they wanted to know where they came from, and they set out to find their biological families, and they did. And it was so healing for them, they created this opportunity, which is now a television show, that people write in, and if they're adopted and don't know who their parents are, don't know who their siblings are, then they will help them unite together. And it's a very just sweet, powerful show. Now, the thing about it is sometimes these individuals, they don't know their ethnicity. Was my mom black or white? They have a DNA test. They'll find out these things. But where did I come from? They don't know anything about where they come from, and they're seeking to find this out. And when they come together and they have this union, it often brings together people who have different color skin. One person may be highly educated, the other person may have had no education. One person may be very affluent, the other person may not. They may be different in many ways, but when they come together and they find each other, it has never not happened. They always walk in and they burst into tears and they just do this hug. They just hug and cry and hold on and say, I don't want to let go. And then they look at them and they say, I see myself in you. You see, they're talking to a biological sibling and they're saying, I see myself in you. But you get the greater meaning of that. When people are friends and family, we're saying, I see myself in you. It may not be a physical resemblance, but I see myself in you. I recognize something in you that I love, that I celebrate, that I appreciate. And the powerful thing about friends and family is that when you nurture the bonds of sacred connection with anyone, you nurture the bonds of sacred connection with everyone. You see, a sacred bond is a very sacred thing. So when you nurture any sacred bond with any one person, when you allow yourself to love unconditionally, to be loved, to see, intimacy ultimately means intimacy. That when you really allow that level of connection to take place, what begins to happen is your connection with all of humanity will grow. Richard, are you on the second song, I See the Face of God? I think so often what happens when individuals see people that they love and can say, these are my friends, these are my family, it's the equivalent of saying, you are the face of God. I hold you in my heart. You are my family. You are the face of God. Now you see, this is not a biological thing. This is a sacred thing. But it's those people that we are closest to that it's easiest at first. Sing it with me. You are the face of God. I hold you in my heart. You are a part of me. You are my family. You are the face of God. Prayer brings us into a more perfect union. Friends and family, those that we love, and it's easier to love, if we nurture those bonds, they bring us into a more perfect union. And as we begin to nurture those bonds, we begin to recognize everybody. You see, Rhoda is my sister from another mother. You know, there's some folks around here that feel like a sister from another mother, or a brother from another mother. It doesn't matter where you are, you then become a concerned citizen, that all of life becomes sacred and matters to you. And so this sort of formula that I am talking to you about of prayer, friends and family, and concerned citizens, my partner and I discovered this several weeks ago when we have two dogs, and one of our little dogs is a little Chihuahua. Her name is Shaylee. She has seizures, and so occasionally she stays in a doggy daycare so she can have good care all day when we're both working. Well, that afternoon we go to pick her up and had missed some messages, and they said, we're sorry, but your dog is missing. Wait a minute, she's not here? No, we're so sorry, we don't know how it happened, but she's not here. It's now like 5:30 in the afternoon, total panic. So this is where number 1 and 2 come in. Number 1, stop and pray. God help. Because talk about the feeling of trying to find a needle in a haystack. I mean, this place is out in the country. There's stuff all around. There's housing subdivisions. There's a big pond of water. There's highways. You just all of a sudden feel helpless. So you stop and pray, help, God, help. And then you pick up the phone and start calling some friends and family and say, I need you to get over here. Can you get over here? We need to start scouring the neighborhoods. And so we did. And some of you came out. People showed up, friends and family, walking around, calling the name, looking, all the way till about midnight. And there's still no dog. And it's down in the 40s that night. And this little dog has seizures. And so it was excruciatingly painful. Well, we went back home and made posters. And I got up at like 4 o'clock the next morning so I could get out in the area before people left and put up all these signs, hoping that the next morning somebody heading out for their day would see a sign. Well, that's what happened. A lady had been out that morning walking her dog and saw a sign. And then later that afternoon, as she was gardening in her yard, she looked over and said, there's that little dog that was on the poster. Now, she saw a sign. She made a connection. But now she needed to take the next step. She could have gone back to gardening and said, I hope her mama finds her. But she had to get up, go back to the poster, get the phone number, and make a phone call. And she did it, which directed us to an area. So now all those friends and family now know to go to an area. So we did. And after a couple more hours of looking, she was found. So she was lost for about 24 hours, and there was this tears and celebration because she was found like a needle in a haystack, and not she had some little things, but nothing big. And I realized in that moment that this was a convergence of prayer, friends and family, and concerned citizens. And you know, each of us are called to be prayers, right? We're called to know who we are in this more perfect union. We're called to be in relationship with the unseen realm. We're called to be instruments of the greater realm. Each of us are also called to be good friends, friends and family, chosen family. We're called to show up for those that we have the opportunity to be in even closer relationships with, to really be there through thick and thin. But we are also called to be good citizens, to be concerned citizens. And concerned citizens have to read the signs. Because, you know, sometimes you don't necessarily what's going on, but you may have to, you see the signs, and then the sign comes up again and comes up again. And so I want to show you a short video clip. If you'll hold the song, Richard, for just a moment. I want to show you a clip that is talking about this amazing woman. Her name is Katherine Johnson. How many of you, go to the one before that, if you will, the slide. How many of you have seen the movie or read the book, Hidden Figures? I highly recommend it. It's based on 3 individuals. Katherine Johnson is one of these, Dorothy Vaughan and Mary Jackson. These women were basically brilliant human computers. This was back in the 1950s and 60s, where they went to work for NASA because they were genius. They had the capacity to calculate numbers and things at just superhuman speeds. They were preceded computers, but they were brilliant. But what was going on in our country in the 50s and 60s, you know, and what was going on at NASA, and so they were relegated to their own area and didn't have the same privileges. And so this movie, Hidden Figures, talks about them, and in particular Katherine Johnson. So the next screen is a true story based on this woman's life. It's a 2-minute video clip.
Where the hell have you been? Everywhere I look, you're not where I need you to be. It's not my imagination. Now, where the hell do you go every day?
To the bathroom, sir.
The bathroom. To the damn bathroom. For 40 minutes a day? What are you doing there?
We're T-minus 0 here. I put a lot of faith in you.
There's no bathroom for me here.
What do you mean there's no bathroom for you here?
There is no bathroom. There are no colored bathrooms in this building, or any building outside the West Campus, which is half a mile away. Did you know that? I have to walk to Timbuktu just to relieve myself. And I can't use one of the handy bikes. Picture that, Mr. Harrison. My uniform, skirt below my knees, my heels, and a simple string of pearls. Well, I don't own pearls. Lord knows you don't pay colors enough to afford pearls. And I work like a dog, day and night, living off of coffee from a pot none of you want to touch. So, excuse me if I had to go to the restroom a few times a day.
And so the supervisor makes his way over to the coffee pot that she's been relegated to use and throws it away. And says, if we can trust this woman to calculate the formula that is going to get us to the moon, can we not trust to drink out of the same coffee pot? And then he goes out and he gets a sledgehammer and he goes to all the bathrooms, and the ones that say white and the ones that say colored, and he beats down every sign. Because he has finally seen another sign. He finally got it. He got a very powerful, very poignant message. And it moved him into action until he tore down the signs. And the very famous line that came out of NASA in that year, in 1961, is he said, "At NASA, we all pee the same color." And it said, Richard, give me that song. They began to make some changes, but they didn't happen overnight. This woman in this year, 2018, will be 100 years old. When she was 97, she was awarded the Medal of Freedom. And I love that it's of freedom. And you know, we need to thank those pioneers that paved the way, and the pioneers that continue to pave the way, because we the people, in order to form a more perfect union, are we there yet? Are we free yet? Are all people created and respected as equal? And I truly believe it's unfortunate that it is religion quite often that does a good job with creating boundaries and building walls. And I think it needs to be spiritual communities that build bridges. And I'm all in for continuing to build the bridges from one heart to another. How many of you are in to create a more perfect union as a concerned citizen? And that means that we need to be willing to pay attention to the signs, to sometimes tear down the walls in a loving way, and create those bridges time and time again. And so this week I ask you, as we celebrate this precious freedom, this precious country, this precious independence, how are you being called into a more perfect union through prayer? How are you being called into a more perfect union with your own closest family and friends? Is there a conversation perhaps that needs to happen to bring some more walls down? Is there something that needs to take place to open the heart a little more? And how are we being called into a more perfect union as a global citizen, all standing in love? Join me in this final song that says, we're part of one family. We're part of one family, the family of God, breathing one spirit, living one life. We're in this together. course will stay. Sing it from your heart. We're part of one family, the family of God, breathing one spirit, living one life. We're in this together, finding our way. Let love be our guiding light, and all course will stay. I invite you to close your eyes. We are part of one family. There is one life, one animating spirit that animates all creation. And just as nature displays itself in its myriad shapes and forms and colors and variety and species, even in one particular plant, consider the rose and how many different varieties within the rose. Nature was created to have diversity, to have unique beauty. Nature was created to have a lion and a lamb. We are created to bring forth the many colors, the many different facets of creation. But the true creative energy is love. And love is not uniformity, but love does bring harmony. And there is a path that one can walk where you need not agree, you need not understand, you need not even like other people, other things. You certainly don't need to worship the way they worship, but there's still a way to honor the differences and walk a path that says, I will still honor you, I will still respect you, I will still be a concerned citizen, for do unto others as I would have them do unto me. When in the scriptures they asked Jesus, well, who is my neighbor? Tell me, who are my friends and family? It's everybody. It goes beyond those closest to you. But nurture and develop the love with the ones that are closest, because as you nurture and develop bonds of love, it will create the bridges that will allow you to love those with whom you vehemently disagree. It will create a capacity within you to still stay and live within a more perfect union. For this is what we're called to create. Once this is created, I believe it could be called heaven on earth. And as it is in heaven, so shall it be on earth. It would not be promised if it was not seated within us to do. And you who are here are a generation who are being asked to look around and say, who's being left out? Where are we failing when it comes to love? Soften my heart. Create a more perfect union within me. And then help me be a bridge builder, a holy builder of bridges, a more sacred union. Where in your life are you being called into a more sacred union? And then we think of those who have asked us to hold them in prayer. Any that you'd like to hold in prayer, I ask you to speak their name into this sacred space. One of our beloved members, Sam Richardson, made his transition this week. Will you just hold him and his beautiful light in this space? Ask you to speak your name into this sacred space. May we open to be that more perfect union. May we create it within and without. And in the name and in the nature of all that is holy, we give thanks. And as you open your eyes, I invite you to look around and then to stand and to join me one more time. We're part of one family. turn to someone and say, I join you in building a more perfect union. I join you in building a more perfect union. And so it is. Reverend Laura.
You all may be seated. We're in this together. We're in this together to build a more perfect union and to get free together. Let's all get free together. That's what I'll be thinking about this week, and I thank you, Rev Darlene, for bringing a whole new way of celebrating Independence Day. So thank you for that. It's beautiful. I'd like to invite our ushers to come forward at this time as we prepare to share our tithes and our offering. And as we do that, we are reminded that we are all in this together, that we are building a community here of friends and family, that we're building a more perfect union here, that we can be an example of what that looks like for the world and take it out beyond these walls. And so as we prepare to share from our own hearts and our abundance, let's share together in this blessing. Divine love flowing through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, all that I receive, and all that I am. I am now in perfect balance and flow with the universal ties of giving and receiving. Thank you, God, and so it is.
I was born by the river in a little tent. Oh, and just like the river, I've been running ever since. It's been a long, long time coming, but I know change gon' come. Oh, yes it will. It's been been a long time coming, but I know a change gonna come. Oh, yes it will.
Thank you, Rhoda Weaver. Change gonna come. It's like Dr. King said, the arc of the moral universe is long, but it ends toward justice. I'd like to invite our ushers to come forward along with our prayer chaplain, William, who is holding our prayer box and reminding us that not only do we have prayer chaplains who will be in the chapel to pray with anyone who would like face-to-face prayer after the service, but you can also put a prayer in the prayer box, and we'll hold that in strict confidence here during the week, and we'll share it with Silent Unity, where it will be held for 30 days in prayer. And so let's bless this offering now. Let's pray. We open ourselves to that more perfect union being formed between ourselves and the God within us, between ourselves and the people in this community, between this community and the world beyond, in this nation and between nations. May we continue to find freedom together, and may these gifts be part of that journey to bless us and to bless this world with the abundance, with the freedom, with the love that we all long to share. Thank you, God. Amen. So I invite you now to form that more perfect union by standing and joining hands with your neighbors as we sing and declare the peace that is already present and that we are making more real day by day.